This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Oh, hello.
Well, let's get back to it.
It's coming home, he said. Well, he might be coming home if he doesn't step out of line and spend the rest of his life in a Doha jail, that is. Kirsty emails, what a load of tosh.
This is absolute tosh.
Very, very angry is Kirsty. She says, I am physically and mentally exhausted from watching England and the USA play. I think it would have been more interesting if England's politicians had played, Americans' politicians, especially if Trump was back on the pitch. I would actually like to see him doing physical exercise. Glumphing around the grass like the back end of an orange pantomime horse.
Don't be rude.
Exercise.
Exercising is fun and it's nice.
Yeah, how do you know? Aaron emails. How many have I got already? 3 pages, and I haven't even got 5 minutes in yet. Stop texting me, people. Aaron emails, this week Britain's Got Talent judge David Walliams was sacked for, I can't remember, and who cares anyway? Was he sacked? He says, could this mark the beginning of the end for this diabolical show? I can't believe... I mean, I saw Britain's Got Talent many years ago. Seems like several lifetimes ago. And it didn't seem to be able to unearth any talent back then. I mean, they were scraping the barrel decades ago. How come that's still on? There wasn't any talent in Britain then, and there certainly isn't any now. Could this mark the beginning of the end for this diabolical show, says Aaron. Let's hope so. In any case, it's a big fat no from me. He said...
No.
On the subject of judging, Fishy Rishi said, judge me by my deeds, not my words. He did, yeah. Guilty! You have been judged, Fishy, and found wanting. He says, on the subject of judging, Fishy Rishi said, judge me by my deeds, not my words. Yet he's appointed Cruella, Dim Dom Rob, and Gavin, go away and shut up, Williamson, with all their baggage. It's a no from me, a no from me, a no from me, he says.
No.
So a mini tornado hit Wales as 65-mile-an-hour winds and heavy rain lashed Britain this week. Absolutely bucketing down. Am I hallucinating, or did it not used to rain this hard? I mean, it used to rain, but it used to be sort of a continuous rain, like walking through a car wash. It just never got dry. But now we're sort of getting tropical storms. We never used to get that, did we? Now every time it rains, you think you're going to be pounded into the earth by the force of the drops. Forecasters warned commuters to take care due to flooding, as we don't seem to be able to handle any rain that's more than a light shower these days without getting up to our door sills in water. Either it is raining harder than it ever has, or the drains have all failed at the same time. I expect it's Jeremy Corbyn's fault. Thanks a lot, Jeremy Corbyn. You see what you've done? Boo! As well as torrential downpours, there were also thunder, lightning, very, very frightening. 100 flood alerts were in place across the country. There were warnings of alerts.
Warning!
Not alerts of warnings, because that is something else entirely. If you hear an alert of a warning...
Emergency, everybody to get from street. Emergency, everybody to get from street.
Over the weekend, the poor weather will return. Saturday will be cloudy and wet across much of the west. It will be wet and windy over the west. And the northwest particularly, I bet. I bet in the northwest. Checking for you while you wait. Aha! 30 degrees and sunshine in Glasgow. Oh, no, wait, that's Doha. One moment. Hang on a minute. Aha! There it is. Well, it's not quite what I was expecting. This is the wee weather for Glasgow. It's not raining at the moment. Can you believe that?
No.
It will be raining tomorrow and Sunday and Monday, but then not raining on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday or Saturday or Sunday or Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. Pfft, rubbish. Sunday is going to face further unsettled conditions here, there and everywhere, baby, with a deluge of rain across the UK. Parts of Scotland could see snowfall. Snow?
Oh, no.
Tonight, dry, clear, cloudy, breezy, rainy, depending on where you are. Tomorrow, dry and bright for eastern parts, cloudy with rain in the west, but mild. Would you like to hear the long-range forecast for the next 4 weeks?
No.
Okay, this is for the next 2 weeks until the end of the first week in December. It's practically December. It's almost Jesus' birthday. Next couple of weeks, at first, rain across England and Wales, blustery showers to the north. Many areas dry. Tuesday, dryness likely to continue, and will do so throughout the week. Then, wet in the northwest, generally drier in the southeast, followed by settled conditions and colder in the first week of December. And then the middle 2 weeks of December, right up to the eve of Jesus' birthday. More settled than of late, maybe sunny with temperatures close to normal. More settled than of late, maybe sunny with temperatures close to normal. We'll take it. Adrian emails, everyone is going on strike. Nobody can afford to heat their homes. Just when we thought it couldn't get worse, Baddiel and Skinner do a Christmas version of that irritating song. That's it. I'm going to sleep till next September. Have they? I'll probably not hear it, so I just don't care. I'm going to throw my hands in the air like I just don't care. Tom texts, if it's not Raab, it's Braverman. If it's not Braverman, it's Gavin Bloomin' Williamson. I think we should forget the notion of any decency in this government or Tory party. Oh, and I hear Farage is... Farage is making a comeback.
I'm a nutcase.
I can't wait to see him lose to a man in a dolphin suit. I know. I mean, he first of all, he had the nerve to say this.
This government will have integrity, professionalism and accountability at every level.
This government... really? It's embarrassing, isn't it? This government will have integrity at every level.
My name's Dominic Raab, and I'm a Tory.
Yeah, I believe you. Dave emails, Nick, mate, this lefty socialist state Keith wants to bring on us all. Who's Keith? 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 Who's Keith? I'll have to ask my glamorous assistant. Who's Keith?
It's something they call Starmer because they don't like him.
Oh, Keith. Keith. Okay. He does seem like a bit of a Keith, doesn't he? I mean, no offence, but there's a certain Keithness about him. He says, Nick, mate, this lefty socialist, spelt so wrong I can't even begin to tell you. Socialist, just about. This lefty socialist state Keith wants to bring on us all is just ideology, dreams, LIBOR are finished, and you know it. Bring back Boris and Moggy. Oh, you know what? I can't be bothered. Get back under your bridge, troll. Rona texts, evening, Nick. So sad to hear about Wilko Johnson dying. He was a real one-off. Wilko Johnson died? Rock and roll! I did not know that. Oh, I saw Dr. Feelgood in, let me see now, about 1976. One of the most exciting things I've ever seen in my life. And unlike most gigs that I remember going to in my plucky youth, as they say in Scotland, it did feel as though you'd be lucky to get out alive. Not because of the people in the audience, but because of the musicians on the stage. I mean, Lee Brillo, he was a bit dangerous looking in that filthy cream suit he used to sport. And then there was Wilko Johnson, who was going back and forth like a Duracell bunny with his eyes so wide it looked like his eyeballs would pop out of his head. Attached to his amps by that like telephone wire, extending telephone wire thing he had. I didn't know that. Wilko Johnson died. Huh, well... Nobody gets out of this life alive. That is absolutely true. Prue texts, I was thinking exactly the same when he said, it's coming home. There's no way these people are making it out of there. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to talk about the World Cup. Almost none of it about the actual football. Let's have this call first off, though. Doncaster. Hello, Martin.
Hey, Nick. Yeah, you've been on 12 minutes. I'm surprised you're not mentioned about Miss Moan's 29 million quid. I'm shocked.
Who's a what now?
That Tory peer's 29 million quid.
Oh, right. Well, let's not get into that because, you know... There's investigations underway, and I'm sure they're going to conclude that lessons must be learned.
they just get away with it. Makes you see there's nurses fighting for a quid, and she's made a fortune.
Yeah, well, like I said, let's not get into that.
Yeah. And then Jeremy Hunt this week telling us to turn his eating down. We can't even turn it up. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, you haven't turned it on yet, and he's telling you to turn it down. The latest advice from Rishi Sunak is that you dial down the water temperature in your swimming pool just a couple of degrees. Every little helps, Martin. Remember that.
I know. I'll just be glad when there's an election, Nick. I can't wait, mate.
I don't think there's going to be another election, Martin. I think we've had our last. We blew it. Never mind. That was the decision that we made, and just like Brexit, we're going to have to live with that decision for the rest of our life. You can't change your mind. You voted Tory once, and that's it forever. It's what the people want. Thanks a lot, Martin. Another satisfied customer. Prue says, oh no, read that. Wow, I'm way ahead already. Doing very well. Tom says, we have daily coverage of the World Cup and Matt Hancock in the jungle. What a treat. I haven't watched a single solitary second of that show. Not one single blooming second of that jungle show. I just can't imagine why anybody would want to watch that. Why are you watching it? Because you like seeing people that you vaguely know tortured a bit? I just don't get it. I suppose the only thing that I get about it is that you eavesdrop on other people's conversations, which is a bit like how we treat portraits and statues. In real life, you can't stare at somebody's face, but you can if it's a painting or a picture. Same like in real life, you can't earwig somebody else's conversation. I mean, like pull up a chair with a bucket of popcorn and just listen to them, having a chit-chat. But with this thing, that's exactly what you can do. So I suppose I get that, the instinct to overhear other people's doings. But once you've done that, once they're just like sitting around chit-chatting away, what else are you going to get out of it? I just don't get it. But, most of what happens in the world these days, I just don't get. I suppose I'm weird. No, Nick, you're not weird. You're perfectly normal. Why do you beat yourself up like that? Can I get a bit of help here, please? 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
So they opened their big mouths and out came talk. Talk.
I think the funniest thing that happened this week was with Germany. Not them losing the match before the match had even begun. Football fans have slammed Germany's players for, quotes, only focusing on politics in the build-up to their World Cup defeat by Japan on Wednesday. Only focusing on politics. What they mean is that for a brief moment in between training for this time their entire lives and actually starting the game, in that brief moment they posed for a quick photo as a criticism of the lack of freedom of speech in Qatar, and the woke warriors' heads exploded. Germany's players made a statement in their pre-match team photo before their opening of the World Cup game with Japan, wherever that is. They covered their mouths in protest at being blocked from wearing an anti-discrimination armband, and that made some knuckle-draggers furious because they are very anti-discrimination. They positively like discrimination, as long as no one is discriminating against them. That photo followed a joint statement from 7 European nations, including but not limited to Germany, England and Wales, to drop plans to wear the One Love armband after threats of sporting sanctions from FIFA. And just to mention the word love sent the mouth breathers into a fury. They love hate, they hate love. They should get a T-shirt made, or maybe an armband would be good. And the Daily Mail is all in on this war on woke. They love it. The Daily Mail reported gleefully that many fans insist that the German team deserved to lose for focusing only on politics, claiming they got sidetracked in the process, which shows an understanding of sports that I have about economics.
Correct.
None. As though when the whistle went, the players were still thinking about the iniquities in life. And then the Mail started quoting random people on social media.
Oh, no.
Which is what passes for journalism these days. They said, one fan wrote, Germany deserved that for being so obsessed with rainbow armbands and politics. Another on social media said, don't get sidetracked by the politics and just play your football. All these needless virtue signalling isn't helping you win. Others said Germany let the politics get to their head, while one fan insisted that Germany needed to, quote, respect Qatar's culture. All of which were written in English, by the way. So not really Germans then. And just saying that stuff rather indicates to me that they feel so pathetically put upon, so impotent, so riven with whining victimhood that they'll just lash out at anyone or anything in order to make themselves feel better about their pathetic little lives. If it wasn't so sad, it would be funny. Here comes the latest news. Matt Hancock officially into the final 5 of I'm a Celebrity. Is that true?
It is true.
Is that latest hot news off the press?
The latest hot news.
Right, who are the other 5? The 4,
question.
the other 4?
Mike Tyndall.
Who?
Mike
yeah,
Tyndall.
Mike Tyndall, yeah. Anyway. Oh, I'm sorry, time's up. What do they win? If they win? Just don't bother me with any more further information. Just don't bother me with it. I'm busy. Richie texts, tropical storms. Nick, have you ever been to the tropics? I suspect you've never travelled further than Glasgow. Well, that's offensive. I've never travelled further... Oh, no, I was going to say further north than Glasgow, but that's completely untrue because I've been right to the top. I tell you what, you want a great beach, go to the very, very north of Scotland. Absolutely stunning. Also freezing. So there's that. 0345 6060 973. Oh, here's one. Monica says, any thoughts on Kanye West standing in the 2024 election? Any thoughts? Yeah, here's one. Bing bong. That's a thought. Kanye West is going to stand in the 2024 US election. Whoop-dee-dee scoop poop. I couldn't have put it better myself. Your husband may not win, Melania.
I don't care.
She's actually not that bothered. Thomas tweets, I can vouch for that rain that arrived here in wet and windy West Wales. And Andrew says, does any member of the Cabinet know what they're doing? Does any member of the Cabinet, like present or past, have any idea what they're doing?
I don't know anything.
I think that says it all. He said too much. He doesn't know anything. I believe him. Here is Bridgend, South Wales. Mike.
Hello, Nick. Just wondering did you see the comments of the, I think she was a legal advisor or lawyer in the Trump team about the nightclub shooting where those gentlemen died, the gay nightclub. Did you see the comments she made?
I didn't.
It was along the lines
Let me guess. It was what Jesus would have wanted.
It was along the lines of, she basically said they shouldn't focus on what actually happened kind of thing. What was kind of more concerning to her was the fact that they hadn't accepted God at the time of their death. Yeah. Therefore, they were going to be condemned to you-know-what.
Right.
And it just... as bad as people in this country can get, I can't imagine like a well-known figure coming out with something like that. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, aren't I? But,
I bet they would think it. They might not say it out loud, but they would certainly think it. I mean, the amount of Tory MPs who do evil while telling us that they are guided by their faith. Well, I've just lost count, frankly.
Oh, and of course the Tony Blair scenario where basically he said, even knowing what he knew, he'd do it again. Again, that's kind of like mind-blowing, really. But
yeah, him and George W.
Absolutely.
Yeah, two peas in a pod.
Knowing what you knew, so basically, like, we believe there was weapons of mass destruction there. That's why we went in.
Right.
But knowing what I know now, I still would have done it.
Yeah.
So knowing what he knows now that there wasn't any weapons of mass destruction, he still would have gone in regardless.
Yeah. Even now he's wrong. Even now he knows he's wrong, he would still have done it, believing that he's right.
And it's kind of like he keeps trying to get rehabilitated, and kind of like, well, there's people who are kind of dead in the sand.
Yeah, I don't think he's remotely interested in being rehabilitated. He doesn't walk in the sort of circles that you and I walk in, Mike. He meets millionaires, and if they're not millionaires, they're billionaires. And have you ever met a pleasant billionaire? I've only ever met one billionaire, as a matter of fact, and he was pleasant. So I take that back. All right, thanks a lot, Mike. This is Jenna Ellis, a former attorney for Donald Trump. And I think that if you're an attorney for Donald Trump, then, well, I mean, what can you say? Jenna Ellis condemned what she characterized as the left's narrative about the shooting that points blame at Christians who hate homosexual and transgender individuals, and somehow that hate led to the shooting. Yeah. Well, it didn't help. Let's put it like that. The left's narrative. That's what they're concerned about, is the narrative. No matter the actual news story. It's how people are talking about the news story that's important. And it's way too early to be talking about gun control. Too early. Always too early. In fact, you should never talk about gun control near to a mass shooting. Unfortunately, in America, there's a mass shooting twice a day. That's actually true. Twice a day. There's a mass shooting in America, and I think mass shooting is defined as when, is it 3 or 4 or more people get shot at the same time? There's a mass shooting in America twice a day. And 3 times on Sunday, because that's what Jesus wants. Jesus wants you to buy an automatic weapon from the same supermarket that you buy frozen peas. They have that. The whole world's gone crazy. Rafi text, did you hear the daughter of Orange... The daughter of Orange Jesus doesn't want to be part of politics anymore.
Oh, shut up!
Orange Jesus. Well, I bet he would complain about that.
I am the most fabulous whiner. And I'm a whiner, and I keep whining and whining.
Now, is that the daughter of Orange Jesus that Donald Trump would say is the hot one? Or is it the other one that he doesn't like to talk about much? A little bit creepy there, Donny. Just a touch. David says the term "it's coming home" is so irritating. Do you think the Americans walk around shouting "it's coming home" or the French? No, it's an embarrassing catchphrase shouted by a typical British topless beer gut modelling football hooligan. How have they afforded 3 weeks in Qatar anyway? I don't know. £12 a pint? You're joking.
Booze.
I mean, you'd need a drink to get over the bill. It's coming home. By what measure would it be home if it came here? What I do find somewhat depressing, I mean, maybe depressing is not quite the right word, but a little deflating, is that so many teams' shirts have so many stars on them from when they won the actual blooming World Cup. Ours, not really over-encumbered with stars. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
And remember, darling, I don't work before 10 in the morning and never after 4:30 in the afternoon.
Or I'll go on strike. Howard texts, Starmer is Keith-esque. Well, that's just true. Who came up with the Keith thing? It sounds like something that Private Eye would have started. Sanj texts, did you see that Brexiter Owen Paterson, who campaigned to leave the European Union and the European Court of Human Rights, has filed a lawsuit about his own human rights with the European Court of Human Rights. Right. He says the ECHR should tell him to swivel and take it up with Cruella. Well, Cruella is desperate to get somebody on a plane to Rwanda, so how about starting with him? I mean, hog tie him and chuck him in the hold, Cruella. I mean, metaphorically speaking, of course. This says, Keith came from the left-wing Twitter user upset at the treatment of Jeremy Corbyn. Which left-wing Twitter user?
Loads of them.
Oh, loads of them. Like lots and lots and lots. Approximately how many?
And one.
More.
Two.
More than that.
6 million.
A little bit less than 6 million, I expect. Andrew says, I will donate some money to the Heart Foundation if both teams in next Tuesday's game, England v Wales, do the Mooney towards the FIFA president. Yeah, Mr. President, take that.
Disgusting.
Martin emails, Qatar is pronounced Qatar. Is it? I don't think so. You know, like Kwarteng, Qatar. Please get it right or you'll be yellow carded. Just think on the consequences of a yellow card.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Qatar, I don't think so. I mean, if it was QU, maybe. Lucy says, with lots of Tories planning to step down in the next general election, Bojo may soon have the party to himself. Yeah, it'd be one of them Bojo business parties. Yeah, they're all saying, right, that's it, I'm leaving. On a point of principle, I'm leaving immediately before I get chucked out by the electorate.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, we won't miss you. That is assuming that we do actually get to have a vote again. And this slow-moving coup hasn't decided on our behalf that no further voting is necessary because the people have already spoken and they decided Tory. Oh, there is news about that, though, isn't there, for this whole ID thing, which I've been meaning to talk about for a good long while, but it's just like it fairly blows my mind what's actually happening in this country. In April 2022, as in this year, the Elections Act 2022 was passed by the UK Parliament. The Act will require voters in Great Britain to show photo ID before being issued a ballot paper in polling stations at UK parliamentary elections, local council elections, referendum. Oh, not another referendum.
Oh, no.
Not referenda, surely. And police and crime commissioner elections in England and Wales. Anybody interested in voting for those?
No.
I didn't think so. Voter ID is the information from the Commons Library website. So there's the actual government speaking. Voter ID is designed to prevent personation, not impersonation. I don't know why they've left the im part out. Personation seems a bit weird. It's like it's only a bit of a word. But anyway, the back bit. Voter ID is designed to prevent personation, the crime of pretending to be somebody else when you vote. The government acknowledges levels of fraud are low, but argues that every ballot matters and that voter ID will protect voters from having their vote stolen. And I think what that means is that every vote matters and they will do anything in their power to make sure as few votes as possible will be recorded for parties other than the Conservatives.
Correct.
Voter ID provisions are due to be in place for local elections in England in May 2023. Next year, assuming we all live that long. And at any UK parliamentary election held after that date, assuming there are any. And the proof of that is that the types of ID are The proof of the notion that they're trying to prevent anybody other than themselves being elected is the kind of ID cards that they have deemed acceptable. Almost all of them are more likely to be held by older voters who are more likely to vote Tory. Even down to two identical ID cards, the Oyster card for travel in London. One is for the over 60s, and that's fine. Another identical one is for students, and that's not fine. They're the same card, they look the same, the qualifications for having one are identical, but one card for old people is fine, the one for young people isn't. Why? Because old people vote Conservative. Ask a young person to vote Conservative and they'll say...
No.
well, actually, they'll say... they'll say, voting? What's that? What, it's an election? Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. I'm busy. Kids, eh? What a disappointment. I mean, it really is that blatant. Old people, yes. Young people, no. You can't vote. At this point, they just don't care how it looks, because whether they cheated or not, only the winner gets the prize. I mean, if a player throws themselves to the ground in the penalty area and win a penalty in a crooked way, cheating, then it doesn't matter if that penalty results in them winning that game. They cheated and they won, and the only part that anybody will remember is they won. Same with this. During the passage of the Elections Bill, which is responsible for this, opposition parties highlighted concerns that requiring photo ID might disenfranchise some voters. Maybe not realising that that's the plan. Brendan O'Hara, out of the SNP, highlighted the incidence of personation was low, saying voter fraud at polling stations barely reaches the height of minuscule. We have to ask, what is the problem they're seeking to solve? Well, Brendan O'Hara, they're seeking to solve the problem of voting Labour or Lib Dem or Green. Polly Toynbee was writing about this in The Guardian. She said, voters who don't have a driving licence or passport or various forms of disabled person's ID, all of which are more likely to be held by the old, can apply to their local authority for a free plastic voter ID card. How many are going to do that? Well, I'm going to guess. Is it 0? Just enough won't do it to make doing it worthwhile. The Joseph Rowntree Foundation said that these new rules will disenfranchise many low-income voters. Getting one of these special voter IDs is harder for those who work irregular hours or may not speak good English or may not know how to use the technology. I mean, the government was plainly thinking of exactly these people and setting up barriers to stop them voting. It's not a glitch, it's the plan. Now, the Lords, which Keith is saying that he's going to get rid of, and I don't believe that for a single solitary second, the Lords being the world's best retirement home, it's the only club that they pay you to be a member of. But the Lords voted by a big majority to add in all kinds of easier IDs, such as bank statements and bills and student IDs and library cards and all of the rest of it. But all of that was struck out in the Commons, which means that Keith, Sir Keir, is concentrating on the wrong house. He shouldn't be trying to reform the Lords. He should be trying to reform the Commons. That's where the problem lies. Tory MPs showed up that day to make it harder for opposition parties to get a vote. You know, him and Mr. Integrity and his little hangers-on.
This government will have integrity at every level.
This government. Evidence from the 2017 election showed there was one conviction for voter impersonation at a polling station. One. In the whole country, tens of millions of votes, only one conviction for voter impersonation. And that's the huge problem that they are solving, supposedly, with this ID bill. And what will it cost to implement this scheme? Well, money is no object where there's ministers' jobs at stake. But according to the Cabinet Office, the cost of imposing the new ID scheme, the extra staff at polling stations, councils issuing it and so on, £180 million. That's how much they're willing to spend of your money to stop you voting, if you plan to vote somebody other than Conservative. £180 million. 180 million quid to stop a few people voting. Excellent value for money if it produces the right result. Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
And remember, he was in power when this went through. This is his little scheme. Turning people away and telling them to return with other ID is going to cause trouble. In the few trials of this in England in 2018 and 19, of 3,000 people turned away, more than a third never came back. But they were the wrong third, so problem solved. And this is happening because the young don't vote much. Kids, if you don't vote, you get stuffed because a government knows you won't vote them out the next time, and just in case, they can get away with this. The young are 40% less likely to vote than the old. But it's not entirely their fault, because the greatest obstacle to the young voting is living in private rented accommodation, where only 63% are registered to vote, because they move about so frequently. And so in order to keep it that way, David Cameron made it illegal for a student rep to register a whole block of students in their accommodation. So they just keep making it harder and harder, and every non-Tory vote that isn't cast counts. And it's so crooked, it looks like, what would Donald Trump do?
Don't be rude.
In fact, the Tories have nicked this idea from the Republicans and Donald Trump. The current masters of denying the opposition the ability to gain votes are the Republicans in America. And as with much else that this government does, you look at it through the prism of what would Donald Trump do, and in every particular instance, you seem to be spot on. Here's why the government wants to keep the young away. Voters over 70 are 3 times more likely to vote Conservative than those voters under 24. And the tipping point for turning Tory has generally been growing older at each election. So the Tories are concerned that their support is dying. Brexit is an old person's thing. So if the Tories don't suppress the young vote, they might not be able to cling to power. They're in danger of sinking. It's all hands on deck. Grab a pail. This boat's going down. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Nick Abbott.
Hi, honey. How are you?
I'm super. Thanks for asking. Richard texts they're taking direct leaves out of the US Republican Party strategy. It's just voter suppression wrapped up in the guise of, well, it's just voter suppression. Yeah, they don't bother wrapping anything in the guise of anymore. They just don't care. They're in power and there's nothing we can do about it. Ever, I would imagine. The people have spoken already. That they decided. Why do we have to keep re-litigating that election? Here's what the young need to know. If you don't vote, you don't get, says Polly Toynbee, and she's completely correct in every respect. The old, with their pension, triple lock and pension tax relief, no national insurance, untaxed property wealth and freedom passes are rewarded, while, since 2010, government spending swivelled away from children and families and the young. Why? Because the young don't vote. And every marginal seat matters. So if they can only prevent a few young or poor people from voting, it will all have been worth it. £180 million to solve a problem that actually doesn't exist. So they're spending the money pretending that they're doing it for our benefit, but they're not doing it for our benefit. It's the opposite of that. And here's how you know that this is totally crooked from top to bottom. Here are a list of some of the things that you can use as ID in the next in every election from this moment on. A passport. Now, passports are usually owned by older people. A driving licence. Ditto. Kids don't want driving licences anymore. They want an Uber account. A blue badge. Usually owned by older people. An older person's bus pass. A disabled person's bus pass. Also owned by older people. An Oyster 60 Plus card. A Freedom Pass. A 60 and over Welsh concessionary travel card. A disabled person's Welsh concessionary travel card, a senior smart pass in Northern Ireland, a registered blind smart pass, a war disablement smart pass, a 60-plus smart pass from Northern Ireland. There isn't a single thing on here that is aimed at young people. They're all older. And the reason for that is because older people are more likely to vote Conservative and younger people don't. I mean, even down to something as blatantly obvious as this. I mean, you think that if they were trying to cover their tracks, if they actually cared how this looked, then they would have okayed a young person's Oyster card. There's an 18-plus Oyster card for people like students. But there's also a 60-plus card that's exactly the same, apart from it doesn't say 18 on the front, it says 60. Now, the 60-plus card, that's fine. You can vote with by presenting that card, but you can't with the younger person's card. They're the same, apart from the number on the front. The 60-plus is fine. The 18-plus, not fine. You get nothing. Good day, sir. On that subject, Jean texts, all in capitals like she's shouting at me. I am sick and tired of your ageist views against older people voting Tory. Well, they're not ageist, Jean. It's just a statement of fact. If you are older, then you are more likely to vote Conservative. And the cut-off point is about 45. She says, I've never voted Tory in my life, and you are stoking age hatred. That's the citing of a specific instance in order to disprove a generality. Older people vote Tory. The older you are, the more likely you are to vote Conservative. That's just true. That you personally didn't means that you are an outlier. By which I don't mean weird. I just mean strange. That's all. Let's have... I wonder if I can squeeze one of these in. Let's just see. Stoke-on-Trent. Hello, Liz.
Hi, Liz. Oh, Nick.
No, you're Liz.
Yes. Oh, dear. Give me a few more minutes.
I tell you what, I'll put you on hold, Liz. How does that sound?
Oh, don't. You're not going to get rid of me, are you? I've got something really good to tell you.
I'm not going to get rid of you, but you said give me a couple of minutes, and I don't have a couple of minutes right now, but I will after the news. How does that sound?
Okay, sweetie, okay.
Did that nice lady just call me sweetie? Charlie texts, Hotel Caledonia, you can check out any time you like, but you can never leave. What's that mean? I mean, I know what it is, but Hotel Caledonia... John email, that's Joe Walsh, by the way.
Rock and roll!
Joe Walsh track. He came and gave the Eagles some meat. John emails, are you running a sweep? Get your quill and notepad out. How many Tories are fleeing the sinking ship? Is it 5 or 10?
86%, 5 million. And
86% of 5 million. It's approximately there or thereabouts. He says some Conservatives are reporting as many as 80 are standing down before the public decides. I wonder why. Well, best to resign before you get fired. Best to resign before you get fired. Kay says, is Farage really going to throw his ring into the hat again? We truly don't want to see Herbert's face about again, angrily pointing at dinghies. Pointing at dinghies, Nige.
I'm a nutcase.
Herbert. Well, I suppose if Keir is Keith, then you know who is Herbert. He seems like a bit of a Herbert.
We are thick, we are stupid.
Well, I wouldn't have said that, Nige, but if you say so. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Coming back with some very important words from Liz in Stoke-on-Trent.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Hello.
Hot H-O-T-A-I-R.
You know, if the USA is a tough opponent, then we are sunk. Oh, well. I mean, we didn't expect to get much out of this anyway, did we? I mean, I know that the Welsh didn't expect to get much out of it, but the English team might have thought in their wildest dreams that we might actually get something out of this, but so far, so boring. Never mind. It's only football. It's only life. Oh, it's Liz. Liz, thanks for waiting.
Oh, thanks for getting back to me. Very generous. Thank you, Nick.
Liz.
Hope you're well.
Yes, thanks.
I've got a fabulous story for you, if you haven't heard it, about Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Jacob Rees-Mogg?
Yep. This was aired on LBC, of course, I think earlier on this week.
Oh, yeah.
And apparently, when he was 13 years old, do you know about this?
Well, I don't know what you're going to say.
Oh, right.
I let you continue with a trepidation.
Right. When he was 13 years old, that's 1-3, he gave an interview.
13 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was interviewed. He gave an interview to on the radio, Radio 4.
No, it was a TV show. There's clips of him as a really old child
with a monocle.
Yeah.
You know about it then?
Well, go ahead and get to the end.
Carry on?
Yes, please.
Right. So he gave an interview anyway to the BBC.
Yes.
And he was promised a fee of £18. And he wasn't paid, and he waited, and he wasn't paid. So he sued or tried to sue the BBC, and he had a photo of himself taken outside the Bank of England wearing this monocle, and he had a debt collecting letter sent to the corporation. Now, what do you think of that at 13? I just couldn't believe my ears.
Well,
and I thought, I must tell Nick this.
I can't believe Rishi Sunak's ears, but that has nothing to do with it. Yeah, he's been playing that same act his entire life, and I don't believe a word of it.
What a slime.
Well, that is one way of putting it. All right, thanks a lot, Liz.
Thank you.
Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. A slime, Liz says.
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
Liz is better informed than he is. He doesn't know anything. If we go to Brexit, we're going to have cheaper clothes, food and footwear. Remember that? Cheaper clothes, food and footwear if only we voted to leave the European Union. Liar! Yeah, apparently not. Didn't work out that way, did it? It's almost as though that we weren't told the truth. Okay, here's a Trump from a Trump. Well, that's actually quite accurate.
Oh, shut up!
It's a Trump from the Donald. This is Truth Social, right? This is his own social media thing, which I don't believe has got off the ground yet. It says, Ye, Y-E, formerly known as Kanye West, was asking me for advice concerning some of his difficulties, in particular having to do with his business. Wow, he is out of his mind. We also discussed, to a lesser extent, politics, where I told him he should definitely not run for president. Any voters you may have should vote for Trump, I said. Says Donald Trump. Anyway, we got along great. He expressed no anti-Semitism. He expressed no anti-Semitism, right out of the blue, as though anybody actually asked. No anti-Semitism.
And I like him. He's a good man. He is not a racist. I can tell you that. He's a good person.
He's a good person. Trump says, anyway, we got along great. He expressed no anti-Semitism, and I appreciated all of the nice things he said about me on Tucker Carlson, which is one of those stupid shows on Fox News. Why wouldn't I agree to meet? Also, I didn't know Nick Fuentes. Who's Nick Fuentes?
An American political commentator.
Oh, right. Okay. So this just came out?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Are we any the wiser?
No.
Not really. Your husband appears to have lost his mind, Melania.
I don't care.
She's not that bothered. Nick Fuentes is actually Mick Fuentes, and I'm not reading slowly. It's just, well, I am reading slowly, but that's because it's being typed as I speak. Nick Fuentes is actually Mick Fuentes and is a white nationalist. Right. So one of those good people on both sides types. But do keep in mind that everything Donald Trump does and says is proper.
Everything that I've done is 100% proper. That's what I do, is I do things proper.
He does things proper. Any fool know that. Scott texts, totally agree with you, Nick. I don't get this world either. It is becoming increasingly difficult to get. Brian texts, Joe Walsh was actually originally in the group The James Gang. They were great, says Brian. Brian is a rock and roll expert. Yeah, I know that, Brian. I've been a fan of Joe Walsh since about 1974. I am aware of that. You'll be telling me he plays guitar next. Let's have... let's see now. Maidstone. Hello, Joan.
Hello there, Nick.
Hello there, Joan.
I tell you what, a couple of years ago, great scientists were warning us against wet markets.
Wet markets.
People, people indulge in eating wild animals.
Ew.
From the jungle.
Some of which are dead, yeah.
Yeah, well, some of which are dead. Anyway, I can't help thinking, I've never watched that awful show, Celebrity in the Jungle.
Yeah.
But I wonder what effect it will have on them. 2 heads, maybe. I think they will be getting more than they anticipated.
What, growing another couple of heads?
Wouldn't that be great?
Well, I don't know what they eat. What are they? You know what? Don't tell me. Don't tell me what they ate.
Unmentionables.
Yeah, unmentionables. Don't mention the unmentionables, Joan, because that would be awful.
Disgusting. I wonder, though, seriously, because they've, great eminent scientists have said that has caused the virus and so forth and so on. We must not eat jungle meat.
I'm going to get a T-shirt made up. We must not eat jungle meat.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, good work there, Joan.
The mind boggles.
It does, yeah. Here's a recording of my mind boggling. Recorded earlier. All right, thanks a lot, Joan. 0345 6060 973. I heard they just found another bat which has got some sort of mad bat disease which could leap to humans. All you got to do is eat one. You've got to catch it first. Rob says, I watched a few minutes of that jungle programme and every bit looked like a brightly lit studio set with ant and deck like trained monkeys. Yeah, that sounds about right. But, wow, the money that a trained monkey can make. TV, eh? Mark emails, I too saw Dr. Feelgood in 1976 at Cambridge Corn Exchange, and to this day it is still the most memorable gig that I have ever attended. Lee Brillo had the most amazing stage presence. The classic Feelgood were sensational. They were. The thing I can remember about it, apart from the air of danger that came with them, because it's like I said, you weren't afraid of what the crowd were going to do. You were afraid that the musicians on stage were actually going to leap off stage and start beating people up. That was the sort of level of violent intensity that they brought to the stage, Dr. Feelgood. But the thing I can remember was the sweat dripping down the walls. I mean, it was absolutely soaking. It was like waterfalls down the walls of sweat in this tiny little club in Embra. Very, very exciting.
Rock and roll!
And I'm going to double check. Has Wilko Johnson died? Because there's no point in going on and on about it. Well, I'm not going to go on and on about it, but Wilko should do. I'll stick Wilko. Home living and homewares. Now, I seriously doubt that's the same Wilko. Yep. He has died, yeah. Wilko Johnson's second act was every bit as belligerent and explosive as his third, says Alex Petridis. And so on. There's a pretty good documentary of the Feelgoods called Oil City Confidential, I think, which you could look up, if you like. 0345 6060 973. Oldbury. Hello, Ranjit.
Hello, Nick. Good evening. How are you?
I am great, mate.
Good. You know, you've been asking what's the purpose of these programs like I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
No, I know what the purpose is. The purpose is selling adverts, making money.
Yeah, other than that, I think it's to dumb people, make them go dumb. You know, when Donny goes, he loves the poorly educated.
Yeah.
That's
his crowd.
I love the poorly educated.
Yeah.
So while these people are watching these kind of programs, right, they're not doing nothing positive, okay? You know, you got, on the one side, you got people referring to dinghies, and then the other side, you got people talking about this. If you say to somebody, mate, why don't you watch a current affairs program or a news program or listen to Nick Abbot? Mate, I ain't got time.
Yeah, exactly.
But they sit on the couch.
Plus, who wants to watch that?
Yeah, so same thing about this now. Like, you know how they're going to be changing all the boundaries. For example, the Isle of Wight, there's one MP on there, I think, but don't quote me on it. They're going to divide it into two. That will be one extra Tory MP because everybody votes Tories on the Isle of Wight. Yes. And this is how they've been manipulated. So if there was a programme that actually told the truth on TV or something, you know, like you told the truth, and people will call you a lefty or woke.
Yeah.
But these people, I'm trying to keep calm. These people don't understand that they're being manipulated now, yeah?
Well, I don't think they're being deliberately manipulated by a television programme into ignoring what's going on in the world. I think it's just the television programme appeals to the kind of people who want to ignore what's going on in the world.
Yeah, okay. You could say they're trying to escapism, but it shouldn't be escapism because the more escapism you do, the more you're going to get trodden on. So why doesn't some student, write to his MP or her MP and say, right, why isn't my Oyster card valued, as ID, as an OAPO card?
Right. And the answer will come because you are unlikely to vote Conservative. You only have yourself to blame.
I know, Nick, but what I'm trying to say, you've painted it black and white now, right? And I've been saying the same thing. There's like ethnic people like myself, yeah. You know, we're poor people. We can't get these expensive IDs, and we're probably more likely to vote Labour. Yeah. So it's there out in the open. But why isn't anybody doing anything about it? That's what annoys me more than anything else.
Well, it went through Parliament. The Lords tried to insert some perfectly sensible and reasonable measures to make it more easy for people to get an ID card, and they were thrown out by the Conservative government.
That's what I'm trying to say, but no, and then yet we still voted another Conservative government in again. Mm-hmm. When people got voter apathy is what destroys everybody. And if I can just mention Sunak now, right, where he's going on about students and immigration. Oh, each of the students that come from abroad, right, bring in £30,000 a year,
easily.
Right?
But way more than that, because that'll just be their
tuition fees.
Exactly,
and
then they've got to live, and all those trips to Harrods and
wherever. I mean, when Cameron went to India, right, and he turned around, he says, "Oh, we can't give you this overseas aid." And the finance minister says, "Mate, we're not monkeys. We don't need peanuts," right? And basically what they said was, those few little industries we got, like the car industry, the steel industry, we can bring it back home and export the car. He come back with his tail between his legs like a little puppy. Yeah?
But less cute.
I think this is nonsense.
A little bit less cute than a puppy.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is, then they put, remember the daytime programme where everybody wants to emulate with broken teeth and bent noses and wearing hoodies, right, and having...
What, Antiques Roadshow?
No. And having paternity tests, right?
Oh, yes.
They're dumbing the population, right? And these people...
I think you've got it back to front. They're not dumbing the population. They're providing entertainment that the dumb population likes to watch.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. What I would say to these politicians is, right, Don't pee on my back and tell me it's raining, mate, because it ain't raining.
Yeah, you've checked the weather. No rain on the forecast. All right, thanks a lot, Rangers. 0345 6060 973. Tracy text, was that Yee's insanity defence you just read out from the Orange Man Baby? I think he has a good case. Yeah, a little bit of, I don't know, I mean, two peas in a pod. Talk about strangers in a strange land.
Whoop-dee-dee scoop poop.
Both of them. A couple of bing bongs.
Bing bong.
If you ask me. From the Dingaling fraternity. Christine says, young people can just do a postal vote, no extra ID required. If they're too thick to know that, then it's best to keep them well clear of the process, says Christine. No, Christine, it isn't. They can't do a postal vote if, for instance, they're at university for half of the year and they're at home for the other half. Or they're travelling around, well, I guess you can't travel around Europe anymore. Make it much more difficult. Travelling around England. Going to the Isle of Wight. It's if you haven't got a very steady home base, which young people tend not to have, then a postal vote is much more difficult. Deliberately so. Rose emails, I object most strongly. My father's name was Keith. He was born in 1921. Good name. Everyone's fallen into Hancock's trap. He should have been given no attention whatsoever. Nick, if you're weird, I'm weird, and it feels okay to me, says Rose. He should have been given no attention whatsoever. But, you know, every story needs a baddie. Which I believe is, as far as the government is concerned, it's, this guy.
My name's Dominic Raab, and I'm a Tory.
He's a baddie. I mean, he just look at him. And Cruella is a baddie as well. And Mr. Integrity, he's supposed to be the good guy.
This government will have integrity at every level.
This government. 0345 6060 973. Sam says, I saw Dr. Feelgood with Wilko. Well, yeah. I mean, that was Dr. Feelgood. He said it was as if the Sweeney were a band. Yes, it was. Except Wilko was the suspect, yeah. It was a relief each time Wilko took 3 steps back after his 3 steps forward. Yeah, it was, that was his thing. He must have walked about 10 miles in each gig at great speed, but never actually got anywhere. Back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Eyes out on stalks. Greenford, hello, Paul.
Hello, Nick. Yeah, I think the Labour would get more stick if they were in government. So I think you're doing a good portrayal of the Tory pitfalls that they're putting on us. But I think the thing about the photo ID is very worrying. That huge proportions of the country ain't going to be able to vote because of this stickler. So yeah, it's good you highlighted it. But what can we do to remedy it, the public?
Well, leave it with me, Paul. I'll have a full report on your desk first thing in the morning. How does that sound?
That's great. Thanks, Nick. Great show.
Oh, another satisfied customer. Thanks a lot, Paul. I understood every single word that you said, just not in the order in which you said them. Darryl says, in the Select Committee this week, when asked how someone from Africa could claim asylum in the UK, Cruella Braver person said that they should enter the UK and claim asylum once they arrived. Basically, she was implying that they shouldn't cross the channel in a dinghy. You really couldn't make it up. Isn't politics fun these days? Yeah, she was asked how people can... what would be the correct method? And the correct method is that you claim asylum by asking for it when you get here. But you can't do that because you can't get here because she's made all methods of getting here illegal. So if you get here illegally, then you can't claim asylum. But there isn't any other way of getting here, so you can't claim asylum. I mean, the stuff that goes on, it's mind-boggling. I'll get into that in a minute. There's so much to talk about. 0345 6060 973. Dulwich, Peter.
Hello there. How are you?
Hello there. I'm great, mate.
Wonderful. I'm just wondering how every vehicle in this country passes an MOT test, which is a government test for a vehicle, and Sadiq Khan thinks that it doesn't count in London. If my vehicle is, perfect every year for the whole country, how can he charge me extra for my vehicle?
Well, how old is your vehicle?
It's 12 years old.
Is it a diesel?
No, it's a petrol.
Oh, you'll be all right then.
So Sadiq Khan is above the government?
No, I don't think you get charged if you're... Hang on a minute. I don't think you get charged if... Wait a minute. I don't think you get charged if your petrol car was made after 2006. I think I got that right.
Yeah. No. If your car passes an MOT test, the government says your car is safe.
Yes.
For our roads.
But it's...
How can he say it's not safe in London?
Well, because you surely know what the answer is, though, Peter, don't you?
No, I don't.
Well, because the MOT test is to determine whether a car is safe to brake and accelerate and whether it's...
No.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. That's what an MOT test dictates. And they do a little bit of, what comes out the back. They test that too. But Sadiq Khan is being Sadiq Khan is being more strict and stringent. You keep asking a question that you know the answer to, Peter.
No, it's not. If my car's safe in Scotland, why is it not safe in London?
Because there are more people in London, there are more cars in London, people are more squashed together, and the pollution is worse.
It's just he's not above the law.
He's not above the law. What law are you talking about?
My car passes a legal test every year.
Yeah, a test.
For this country.
Right, but that's not the only test. It's not the only test that should exist, though, is it, Peter?
The MOT is not a London test. It is a national test.
Yes, but it's not the only test that should exist, though, is it? Just because there's one test doesn't mean to say that all other tests are null and void.
Really? Do people in London have to take an extra test?
Their cars do.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do. We've already established that they do.
We take the same test every year as every person in this country.
Yes, and then they have to have another test in London.
No, they don't.
Peter, the only reason that you've called me is because they do.
I only have one test a year.
Oh, if you drive in London and will be subject to the Ulez charge, then you have two tests. The other test is to determine when your car was made, which you either pass or fail.
I have one test a year, one physical test a year. My car passes it every year.
Yes, and so will you be charged in the Ulez zone?
I don't know, but what I'm saying is I only have one test a year, same as everybody else in this country on their car. Right. One test a year, unless you're an Uber, once every 6 months.
Unless, Peter, you drive in London, in which case there is another test to see how much pollution
There's not another test.
Peter, the only reason you are calling me is because there is another test.
There is not another test. There is only one test on your car per year.
And another one if you drive into the Ulez zone in London.
No, there's not. It's not a test at all.
It is.
All that is, no. There's no test on your car.
Yes, there is.
When you drive into the Ulez zone.
Yes, there is.
You only get one test. When does this test take place then?
It takes place permanently all the time. It depends on when your car was made.
I'm not being tested. I'm being judged.
What's the difference?
I'm being judged.
What's the difference between tested and judged?
My car is 12 years old and it passes its emissions test
12 years
every
old?
year.
Yeah, it passes an emissions test. There are other...
It passes the legal government emissions test every year.
It passes...
Why is Sadiq Khan allowed to charge me just because he says so?
You do know you do know the answer to that question, though, don't you, Peter?
Sorry?
You know the answer to the question that you are posing, don't you?
I don't. That's why I'm ringing you.
All right. Okay, well, if you genuinely don't know why he's doing it, it's to tackle pollution.
Pollution?
Yes, pollution.
Okay, so let's say with this new emissions test, I'm going to have to buy a new car next year. We're going to have to scrap it.
Mm-hmm.
Not just pollution. Never mind pollution. Look at cost. I'm going to have to buy a new car.
Right, is this just whining now?
It's not whining at all.
This is you not whining. Wow.
If my car was kicking out rubbish out the back end of it,
yeah,
I would change it.
It is, though.
Is it really?
What does it run on?
It runs on petrol.
And what comes out the back of a car if you run on petrol?
What comes out of a power station when it charges up electric cars?
It depends on what the power station runs on. If it runs on wind, then nothing.
Really? No, wind's more expensive than anything else at the moment. You must know that. You spoke about it 2 weeks ago.
No, wind is actually the cheapest form of producing...
No, it's not the cheapest form at all, because it's all rolled into one. We pay the same for any fuel we get in this country.
No, yeah, but that's not what you said. You said producing. Us paying as consumers is different from the production of electricity, which is what you were talking about, Peter. At the moment, wind power is the cheapest form of producing electricity.
Talk over. Right. Is Sadiq Khan above the government?
Is Sadiq Khan above the government? The Sadiq Khan has powers to change London as he sees fit, within certain limits. Yeah, really.
Okay.
He's the mayor. What would be the point of having a mayor if he couldn't do that?
What's the point of the MOT then?
To check whether a car is serviceable and usable and safe.
And emissions.
That is one thing. Yes, that they do an emissions test, but there are other emissions tests, Peter. You probably passed yeah, there are. You probably passed the 11 plus, I bet.
There's only one emissions test a year for every car.
No, there aren't. There's two. That's the reason that
there's only one.
Peter, the reason that you are calling me is because you're complaining about a second one.
There's only one, and one which London make up.
Yeah, another one. Two.
No, there's only one which is legal and one which the mayor makes up.
But that makes it legal. If the mayor puts it into...
It doesn't make it legal at all.
Peter, what you know about cars, you could write on a tyre with chalk around and around. It was kind of like going around a roundabout for the last 5 minutes, chasing our own tailpipe. Anyway, he's very, very angry. Is this real life or am I hallucinating? 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Does that satisfy you, Peter?
Not really.
Not really. Not really, no. Oh, well, better luck next time.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Well, the whole world's gone crazy.
James texts, would it be useful to read out the government policy on clean air? Quotes, local authorities are required to shortlist and take forward for full modelling the lowest class of charging clean air zone that will deliver compliance in the year after implementation. I have absolutely no idea what that means. It sounded like to me. But anyway, James concludes that Sadiq Khan has to have a policy in place because of this Tory policy. A Tory policy? Well, almost certainly Jeremy Corbyn's fault. Boo! Thanks a lot, Jezza. You've done it again. And Yanoa tweets, I have a sneaking suspicion that Peter, the angry Ulez man, has a copy of the Magna Carta in his glove box. I looked it up. If you've got a petrol car, it can be as old as 17 years. 2005. In fact, they made cars that passed the test from 2001 on, if it's petrol. But if you got one that was made after 2005, you're just fine. 17 years old. If it's diesel, then it's 7. So says Sadiq Khan. He's trying to clean up London's air, which is absolutely filthy and unbreathable in certain areas. I can remember walking down the Strand a couple of summers ago. This was before the Ulez charge came in. And I had to hold my breath and walk away and then test the air again and have a little breath in. And it was still unbreathable, so I had to keep walking, holding my breath, looking like an idiot. No, Nick, you didn't look like an idiot at all. Why do you keep beating yourself up like that? Bodmin, Malcolm.
Nick, how you doing, mate?
Good, thanks.
The second part of the sentence you were groping for earlier was, you could write it on the tyre of a dinky toy car.
Ah.
That's how much knowledge the man had.
Right.
But he was right.
Actually, what I was going for was you could write it on a tyre with a paint roller. But I just couldn't think of what the word for paint roller. Never mind.
Okay. But he in fairness to the man, there is only one physical test. The Ulez thing is a regulation, isn't it? And as you say, it's related to dates on cars. But it's Euro 6, I think, Nick, isn't it? As opposed to a date.
I have no idea.
Is it not? Anyway, it's been one hell of a week, Nick, has it not?
In what way?
Well, Rishi's Rat Pack, you're aware of the Rat Pack, yeah?
The Rat Pack?
Yeah.
What, as in...
My name's Dominic Raab, and I'm a Tory.
That Rat Pack?
Yeah. You got it. Well, we had Cruella running out of road and handing over to her henchmen who equally had no road to move on. And then you've had Raab with the numbers.
What? You mean she was asked, how can you get here legally and lodge an asylum application? And the answer is you have to get here legally to launch an asylum application, but you can't get here legally, so you can't launch an asylum application. There's a hole in my bucket, dear Liza, dear Liza.
Her answer, though, was pretty much me. You talking to me?
I don't see anybody else here.
But the story of the week, Nick, for me, is smug. And I don't know whether I've mentioned this before, but in the week, it came out that he's in negotiations, or his agents are, to sell his investment company, the one he moved to Ireland because of the European regulations.
Yeah, he would protest that he didn't do anything of the sort. It was somebody else. He never met them. He has no record of who it is. He doesn't know them. He's never even heard of it.
Yeah, and by dint of simply being a major shareholder, that means he has no responsibility at all. But anyway, last week, or in recent weeks, he's been offered £30 million for Somerset, whatever it's called, Somerset Capital, or whatever it's called, right? Well, a year ago, or it might be 3 years ago, but a year or 3 ago, he was offered £90 million for it, and he turned it down. Because no doubt he thought it was a winner. But the problem is the Brexit rubber has hit the road and investments are not looking great out of Britain, or into Britain.
Well, I'm not sure that they invest much in Britain, do they? I mean, I don't really know what their portfolio consists of, but I very much doubt that they're very exposed to Britain.
Look, the point I'm making is, Nick, his little piece of the investment world was valued 3 years ago.
You said, but I seriously doubt it had anything to do with Brexit, because as far as I'm aware, they divested their interests in Britain because they could see the writing on the wall, which was there was the B word coming right at us.
Yeah, but the point is, Nick, that the divestment hasn't done anything for him, has it?
Right,
because his company has dropped from 90 million to 30 million.
Okay, well,
anyway,
please give me the world's smallest violin and I'll play something sad for him.
But the other side of that is his other major partner in the company, who was made a lord by Truss so that she could give him a job in her cabinet. He was sacked by Rishi Sunak a 3 weeks ago. It's all gone so fast that whenever Richie was appointed or anointed...
Mr. Integrity,
Well, Richie sacked him, but this week he's rehired him.
Well, that doesn't surprise me at all.
No. And he was given his lordship simply because one suspects he was related to Mud.
Well, let's ask Jack himself.
I don't know anything.
He is claiming not to know anything. All right, thanks a lot, Malcolm. Keep your eyes peeled. Mr. Integrity strikes again.
This government will have integrity, professionalism, and accountability at every level.
Good one, Fishy. You're a smile. You're a grin, but you're really a cry, or however that lyric goes.
Rock and roll!
Lorraine says, I'm working in Manchester city centre tonight, and I have honestly never had to gingerly pick my way through so many rivulets of wee flowing from dark doorways. Drunken football fans are the worst. P.S. You and Carol were very giggly this week. I enjoyed it a lot, says Lorraine. Yeah, me and Carol were quite giggly this week. She does make me laugh a lot. In fact, the hour that I do with Carol McGiffin is probably the most I laugh in the whole week. And I think she would say the same. It's a podcast. We don't just like talk to each other for pleasure. It's a podcast. It's called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol.
Oh, right, yeah.
In which we try to solve people's problems while guffawing like seals. If you want us to have a bash at your issue, then send it to the following address. nickandcarol@global.com. nickandcarol @global.com. And gird yourself for total satisfaction.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's on Global Player. If you haven't got Global Player, then you absolutely should have it in your life. You can get it for free from Apple or Android. It works on PC as well, globalplayer.com. And on there, you'll find the 3 podcasts that I do. Amongst them, the one I do with Carol McGiffin. Ask for it by name on an internet near you. What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol?
LBC with Nick Abbott.
You're joking.
0345 6060 973. John text, did you see the video of Mick Lynch's speech being interrupted by Born Again Ken? I did, yeah. Oh, Nick, have you heard the word of the Lord? Are you taking Jesus into your life, Nick? That guy. Yes. Yeah, I did see that. Now we know what he looks like, says John. Yes, we do, and can avoid him. Simon says, not sure if you've answered this question before, but were what? Not sure if you've answered this question before, but were always you one of the people that lost their 2 ticks on Twitter? 2 ticks? Well, No, I didn't even know you could get 2 ticks. Maybe he means blue ticks. No, I didn't. I was, obviously I'm not important enough. Me and the 6 people that follow me was not important enough for Elon Musk's attention. No, I did not lose my blue tick. Orpington, hello, Gavin.
Hi, Nick. Sorry. First of all, I wanted to apologise to the person who took my call earlier on. I was ranting and raving about the Sadiq Khan's.
I am very sorry that I screwed up.
Yes, you're very sorry.
Totally I am so sorry. You just don't know how sorry I am. I'm sorry.
He's just a functionary. He only works here. He's not responsible for this show. Carry on.
I just wanted to apologise to him anyway. But,
yes.
My point is, originally I was angry at Sadiq Khan's choice because I own a 52 plate Nissan Almera, which is just past MOT 3 weeks ago. And
now, when you say when you say a 52 plate, what year is that?
2002. 2002 to 2003.
2002. Oh,
yes.
No, you fail.
I know, but yeah. So obviously, it means that the MOT is going to go sort of right into the.
Well, it may pass the MOT, but you just won't be able to drive it in London. That's all because of the filth that comes out the back of it.
Where I live, Orpington, the Sadiq Khan extends it to there.
Yes.
But So I'm going to have to pay £12.50 to use it to work. But,
I guess so, yeah.
But...
you are just being encouraged to go clean, that's all, or cleaner.
My point is, Nick, sorry, my point is, quite frankly, quite a lot of people who sort of like rely on their cars, the NHS who can't afford modern cars, care workers and everything else, how are they going to cope, quite frankly?
Well, quite frankly, there's probably very few people who own a car as old as you. I mean, apart from me, there's very few other people that own a car as old as you.
Okay. Right.
And I do know that when you drive behind an old car, even newish ones sometimes, but if you drive behind an old one, it is like driving in a cloud of just the worst air. And sometimes I do find myself stopping the car and letting other cars go by me so they can be behind that car and sort of dissipate the smoke that's coming out the back of it.
Yeah, but mine is not a smoker, mate. Mine's not smoker. It's past emissions. I mean, I work in the trade.
Here we go. Here we go. Again, it passed the emissions of one test, but not another.
Yeah. I work in the trade. And
what trade?
In the motor trade, and the emissions are all balanced on...
You work in the motor trade and you can't afford to get a newer car?
No, I can't. No.
What do you do in the motor trade?
I work for a...
You wash them?
No. I work for a company who deals with claims, insurance claims, and they repair cars.
Oh, right.
And we check cars over, we repair them, and put them back to sort of like original status. But I work. No.
Are you saying that you work in a chop shop, like with? If two cars crash, then you weld them together. Is that what you do?
Can I mention a...
No, absolutely no.
Can I mention...
Whatever it is that you were about to mention, the answer is no.
No.
DLG?
How many times did I say no, and he went and did it anyway? Anyway, good work there, Gavin. Wish you all the best. If your petrol car is 17 years old, you're fine. 17 years old. How many people have got a 17-year-old car? Apart from Gavin and me. No one. It doesn't seem unreasonable, does it? 17 years old. People throw a car away after it's 2 years old. Apart from anything else, people don't buy cars anymore. They rent them. I mean, that's a giant financial catastrophe just waiting to happen when people can't afford to pay their mortgages and they can't afford to pay their heating bills and they can't afford to keep their payments up on their cars. So the cars are going to have to go back, but then what are the company that makes the cars going to do? I mean, how are they going to sell them? And the problem is that there's all this finance on the cars because car companies have become like the providers of financial services, is what they do now. And all of these people have gone out and bought, well, not bought, but they're renting, essentially, a nicer car than they would have bought because they can afford it, just about, as long as, none of their other costs go up. Because that's the thing with cars. You don't buy the car that would be suitable for you. You buy the car that you imagine yourself cruising around in. I know that's not everybody. And if you've got kids, then suddenly you have to buy a sensible car. Boring. That's what I'm saying. But usually it's an emotional choice, and you want to see yourself in something great with a great badge on the front. You don't want something dull like what's a cab called that's not a black cab? What's a cab called that's not a black cab?
Taxi.
Yeah, I know it's a taxi, but what are they called? Like a something cab. What are they called?
Private hire?
Well, not really, but yeah, all right then. That doesn't look like you're running a taxi. Something with like a cat on the front or a horse or what other ones are there? or like a propeller blade, and the 5 circles of death. I don't mean that. That's what you want to see yourself in, so people go and buy something massively expensive. Well, they don't buy it. That's the point. They rent something massively expensive, and they can just about afford it as long as none of their other costs go up. Unfortunately, all of their other costs have gone up. You know, the supermarkets in this country, here's a sign of the times. You used to go to the supermarket, and if you wanted a bottle of champagne or some razor blades, something like that, there'd be a security tag on it, right? Those razor blades, so blooming expensive, it's absolutely incredible. And you go upstairs to where the homewares are in the supermarket, and they'll have printer ink, which is just the world's most valuable liquid, apparently. And they'll have a security tag on that because people look at the price and they go, "What? Oh, I'll just nick it then." And you can only nick so many before they start twigging. So they put a security tag on. And as soon as you leave the store, warning, warning, they leap on you. But as a sign of the times, now they're putting security tags on butter.
What?
Butter. I am not making that up. Butter and 4-pint jugs of milk. Milk! But, you know, apart from that, how's the country running?
Oh, fabulous.
David texts, if 2 men hold hands in Qatar, they go to prison. However, if 11 footballers hug and kiss each other after a goal, no one bats an eyelid. That is correct, David. Yeah, they hug and they kiss each other and then they go have a shower together. What's gay about that? Chris says, do you think the Qatar... well, I'll read that one later because that comes with a story. It's offensive, but it's also funny. Are you interested in something that's offensive and funny?
Yes.
I thought so. Well, I'll come to that in a minute. Stuart texts, I am moving to France because I just can't stand this country anymore. He says, right, that's it. I'm leaving. Bye-bye. He's moving to France. He shall miss us, says Stuart. Well, you don't have to miss us. You can take us with you when you go. I would recommend you doing that. Where the internet is available in France, last time I checked. Gaz tweets, even though we've now got Brexit from these so-called evil EU empire overlords, why is the anger moved back to hating migrants, our poor, sick and disabled, and them evil, selfish nurses and doctors and teachers and postal staff and railway staff? Just asking as I don't understand, says Gaz. Tom texts, apparently there's been a load of COVID cases among the I'm a Celebrity crew. They should have got Hancock to throw a protective ring around them. Well... it's funny but sad and appalling all at the same time. Yeah, somebody should be in jail for all of that. But I expect that we'll have an inquiry that will cost £50 million, last for 6 years, and conclude that lessons must be learned, as usual. 0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. It's LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Everything is going extremely well.
Right, so what are we doing?
We are doing a radio show, Given. Glad you asked. 0345 6060 973. Ahmed emails, last week you said Liz Truss will get a £115 a year pension for being the PM. I heard this whilst I was eating and I nearly spat my food out in anger. He says, then you corrected it by saying that she will be getting £115,000 a year. You really put me off the rest of my chips, says Ahmed. Is this true? Well, it depends on whether you're still eating chips, Ahmed. If yes, then no. If no, then yes. And that's clear.
I'm genuinely unclear.
I'm genuinely clear about that. Thanks for asking, Ahmed. 0345 6060 973. Fulham. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Nick.
Chris.
First of all, I've got to compliment you. I've got a lot of pressures in life at the moment, and I'm pretty depressed. And you're the one person that can make me laugh when I go to bed on the night time.
Well, thanks, Chris.
If they looked up the word irreverence in the dictionary, there'd be a picture of you.
Yes. Right.
Your conversation with Peter over cars and emissions, I was laughing.
I was on the verge of producing some emissions myself.
Listen, I was in the motor trade for 10 years, but that was some time ago. Let's just go through the history of the motor trade.
What? I've only got a 3-hour show.
Quickly. First of all, we were told catalytic converters. They're the way forward. Mm-hmm. All right? And that cost an extra just over £1,000 per vehicle.
Yeah.
And subsequent to them being fitted, they found out that the average journey time of a car in London was under 15 minutes. And a catalytic converter needed 20 minutes to get to temperature before it started working efficiently. Before that, it gave out 2,000 times more pollutants than it did without.
Really? Even if yours has been nicked while you were in the supermarket?
Then we were told diesel cars, that's the way forward.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
We'll keep it cheap, and diesel will be cheap.
Yeah.
and what's diesel now? It's about 50p a litre dearer than petrol.
I think it's about £17 a litre, something like that.
Then you've got Siddiqui Khan with this arbitrary, it's Euro Cap 6. Now, basically, they're lazy and they haven't done the job properly. They're going, anything, you gave the dates, you're better with the dates than I am. Anything past 2016 is fine. Anything before is not. Now,
no. It's I think 2000. If you've got a petrol car, 2005 is the actual cut-off point. But some cars from 2001 onwards would pass if it's petrol.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that they set these dates because they were the dates when the manufacturers had to make them to this compliant standard.
Yeah.
But there was plenty of vehicles. I've got motorcycles as well as cars, and I've got a couple of specialist Harley Davidsons.
Oh, what? Harley Davidson? Oh, no. What, the ones that make all that racket?
Yes. Noisy pipes save lives. When I'm coming down the road, you can hear me 50 metres before I get to you.
Yeah, and hang on a minute. When you're driving in the middle of the night, then the people in a circle around you of about a half a mile are all woken up for the entire time you're on the road.
No, when I go down residential roads, I keep it quiet. Unless I don't like somebody, I can really open it up and I set all the car alarms off.
See, I think that's just wrong. Why do bikes need to sound so loud with those tiny, puny little engines they've got?
Well, it's not tiny, puny little engines. You're talking about between 1,600cc and 2 litres in a motorbike.
Right, like I said.
What it does. Loud pipes are serious. I mean, you have to be socially aware and nice with them, like with my neighbours and what have you. But the thing is that when you're driving down the road, people don't look in their mirrors for bikes. So if you're on the continent, if you're in Europe, like in France, for instance, you start with the 50cc Mobiletti at 14 years old, and then you have a scooter at 16.
Yeah.
And so they used to 2 wheels. And so when they transition to cars, they look in their mirrors and they're more aware.
Well, I'm not sure that that's true. But you can tie yourself up in knots, Chris, to try to defend people that make a racket on motorbikes, but you ain't going to get past me. No.
No.
Anyway, back to polluting cars.
Yeah, and the polluting cars, I mean, this ridiculous thing of, and people are just beginning to realise it or wake up, electric cars, no road tax. Well, now they're going to have to start paying road tax shortly.
Yeah.
And also, there's going to be a difference between plug-in electric and hybrid electrics, where they have petrol or diesel engines to charge the electric engines that are on board.
Yes.
And all of it is unsustainable.
Unsustainable? How do you mean?
Yeah, because there is not enough rare earth materials, REMs, to make the batteries and the technology that's needed for electric cars.
I don't think that's true.
It is true, actually, and where we'll end up is where California is now.
What do you mean it is true? How many cars have not been able to go on the road because of a lack of rare materials for their batteries? Zero.
Well, why do you think that Elon Musk built the gig factory in the Arizona desert? Because he realised that he couldn't build enough batteries for his own cars. It's not, and he's building
gigafactories to make batteries all over the place.
Yeah, because the Chinese, where the most rare earth materials come from, brought out a moratorium that said that only 25% of what they mine can be exported. 75% has to be kept in China.
Yeah.
So where we're going with this, right? It takes time to charge up an electric vehicle. We're not making clean electric anyway. We're still making over.
Well, that's not true.
Over 50% of our electricity is still made from fossil fuel.
Right. But you said 50%. So, some days, the vast majority of it comes from wind.
No,
it's true.
They pick on those odd days where it's very blowy.
All right.
But there's no commercial battery storage for it. It only happens when it is that windy. The average is less than 50%. Where we will end up is hydrogen.
No, well, they've already backed away from hydrogen. It seems to make a lot of sense to me. But we seem to be going down the wrong track. I mentioned this last week. I'm pretty sure that hydrogen made more sense to me than batteries, as complicated as they are. But they tried hydrogen, but now they're backing away from it.
Well, no, they're not backing away from it. I mean, you've got hydrogen because it can be pumped like petrol.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah. But there aren't any stations to get hydrogen.
Yeah, there is in California. There's two types of hydrogen.
So if I want to go from Neasden to Camden, I've got to go via California.
Nick, the technology will come here. The thing is, there's two types of hydrogen, and the prohibitive factor of hydrogen is the cost of actually generating and manufacturing the hydrogen.
Right, getting it out of the universe, yeah.
Yeah, and that will be a problem that is tackled. And hydrogen will be...
Maybe not. I mean, you're talking about us being saved by some miracle of invention that hasn't happened yet.
No. It's not a miracle of invention. We have moved forward. There's already two types of hydrogen, blue and white.
But Chris, where the world is going is battery. I mean, everyone's running to make the infrastructure work for battery. That no one is doing that for hydrogen. It just isn't a thing.
Yeah, it is. There is huge amounts of money being spent on hydrogen. I mean, to make batteries, you've got children in Africa digging out.
No doubt, I'm absolutely sure that that's true. But anything that the West relies on is probably made by some manner of slave trade in some third world country. But that you can't get around it. That there's no infrastructure for hydrogen. In fact, I think the one station that existed in this country just closed. So it ain't happening. It doesn't seem to make sense to me that batteries are where we're going, but that's what has been decided on our behalf. Chris, I've got to go because I'm up against the break, but thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
LBC with Nick Abbott.
What in places goes on inside that head of yours?
Sam texts, has anyone told Gareth Southgate that if he gets the formation in order, he gets extra points?
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
Extra points for getting it in order, Gareth.
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
Extra points available. Maybe just have your team not be so boring next time around. Might be a good idea. Colnbrook. Hello, Nick.
Hi, Nick. I love the guy that was trying to explain to you earlier. Let me just run through it very shortly. What he was trying to say to you was, at the end of the day, the registration is what people are having their cars scrapped on, not what is coming out of the exhaust pipe.
Right.
This is all we need to do is, if you want me to take my old car, I've now got to get it up to that new standard.
Yes.
And if I can add the new filters or the new technology to be able to make my car up to that new standard, I shouldn't have to scrap it. But they are scrapping you purely on the age of the car, not what's coming out of the exhaust.
Right, but what technology can you put on your car?
We had at one time we had unleaded fuel, so we all had to have our valves recut, and then we did that. Then they put the catalytic converters on, so we did that. If necessary, I could put a new engine in my old car from the new ones and keep my old car if that's the car that I like.
Right.
Why should I be dictated to by the government for the age of my car?
Well, if you can do that, then I'm sure you would get a pass, wouldn't you?
But then why not? Then why don't they just make your MOT station? They go, this is the new CO2 level. You failed, you passed. It's up to you how you change the technology on your car to make it go through.
Yeah, but
they're not.
people. Hang on a minute. People don't only drive in London, though. If my car passes its MOT in London, but I decide to move to, I don't know, Chelmsford, then there might be no requirement for emissions in Chelmsford. So I will have scrapped my car for no reason.
Do you really think the government's going to let you move to Chelmsford and not put it up again very shortly because they want to change the whole technology over to a new idea? It's like the reinvention of the car.
No,
everybody's got to buy a new one.
Nick, it's a silly thing to say. Do I think that the government will allow me to move to Chelmsford?
No. It's not it's not the stopping you going there. It's stopping you not having the restrictions put on you later on.
Well,
in Chelmsford,
in some areas you can't because they have Ulez zones in other cities as well.
Sure.
But the best way to do it is to surely just charge people. They're not saying you've got to scrap your car. It just costs you.
But some people, let's give an example. My son at the moment, he's got 5 children. They both have to drive because he works nights. She's got the kids to run into school all the time, so their time's marrying up. How are they going to buy 2 new cars next year?
Again, you don't have to buy a new car. You can just pay the charge.
Well, they can't afford to pay their charge. Everybody, as you know, is going to be going through the roof now on all the bills, and all the other restrictions are being dumped on us from a great height.
They've got 2 cars and 5 children.
Yeah, they've also taken on one of my daughters because of a care order, so that's how they ended up with 5. So they've got restrictions coming in from all sides. But you can't help each other. Like I was saying, at the end of the day, the restriction should be on what's coming out of the exhaust, not what's on the front of the registration plate.
Well, it's just an easier way for them to do it, I suppose. I mean, rather than to check everybody's exhaust pipe over and above what the MOT decides. I don't know, Nick. They're just trying to save lives. Something of the order of 40,000, 50,000 people die because of the quality of air in this country every year. I mean, if that was 40 or 50,000 people in a commercial airliner that was dying every year because they fell out the sky, then they'd do something about it. And the cost of doing something about it would be levied onto the consumer. Now, you could rail against that as well. But, eventually we got to pay. If you want to clean up the place, then it's going to cost. But anyway, Nick, I hear your furious anger, and I'll put it in my furious anger file. Got nothing to do with me. It's not my fault. Wendy emails, is your producer called Dominic, and does he present the news for Nick Ferrari? Well, let's find out. Is your name Dominic, and do you present the news for Nick Ferrari?
No and no.
No and no in that order.
Yes.
Al texts, now that we've got a new monarch, could we have a new national anthem? At least change the embarrassing lyrics. Any suggestions? Perhaps a catchy Christmas version. How about this? Happiness would be a good, except it doesn't really fit for us, does it? Moan, 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 moan. Mustn't grumble. That's us. There you are. Put a tune to that. Lisa texts, the cost of crime is also going up. When I shoplift, I have to buy something. It's unacceptable, says Lisa. Belsize Park. Judy.
Hello.
Judy.
You're talking about pollution from cars.
Yeah.
Why is the exhaust pipe on the left-hand side, on the near side of the cars in the UK?
Is it?
Of course it is. Don't you drive a car?
I do.
Right, the exhaust pipe is on the left.
I don't
on the
think
near
so.
Side.
I don't think so.
It is.
No, no, no.
Yes.
No, I've got two exhaust pipes, one on either side, so no.
Well, I'm talking about the one on the near side, which is exactly level with a child's face as they're being pushed past in a pushchair.
If they're being dragged face first along the ground.
No, this isn't funny. This is not funny. When they're in a pushchair...
Well, it is a little bit. I mean, what difference does it make? It's just a couple of feet.
They are lined up. If you're going down a road with a child in a pushchair with a load of traffic, the entire walk down that road, they are going from exhaust pipe to exhaust pipe to exhaust pipe.
Correct.
Right.
But it won't make, never mind whether it's on the left or the right-hand side of the car.
It might make a little bit of a difference.
Zero difference.
You've done tests on it, have you?
Yes, I have.
You're lying.
Yes, I am.
And it's not something, I'm sorry, and normally, I phone you every now and again, and we have a laugh, but this is not a laugh. This is really serious. And
I get it, but it doesn't make never mind whether it's on the left or the right-hand side of the car.
Well, I'd like some research done into that, because it must be the nearer you are to the exhaust pipe fumes, the more dangerous and unhealthy it is.
Well, you know where the real danger is inside a car, behind another car. Because all of the intake for the air is at the front. And so it's just sucking in all of the hot juice from the car in front and just pouring it into the cabin of the car that you're in. The worst place to be is in a car in traffic.
Right, but at least exclude something. You can't avoid taking your children in your car. Always.
Well, yeah.
But you could do something, and one thing that might just help a little bit while we're on the whole thing about pollution is to keep children in pushchairs' faces as far away from the exhaust pipe as possible.
I don't think that there is a policy to put the exhaust pipes on the left. I just don't think that's a thing.
Well, every car we've ever had has had the exhaust pipe on the near side, and every time I walk down the street, I see the exhaust pipe on the near side.
All the more reason to encourage the mayor, the mad mayor, to go about his little scheme of trying to get people out of their pollutant cars.
Yes, fine. But you're not going to get rid of cars altogether, obviously.
No.
So all I'm saying is, you can't go from completely one extreme to the other, but each, as they say, a little bit of help here would be very useful, I think, personally.
Every little helps.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe other people would totally disagree with me. Maybe they'll agree with you. Maybe I've been hallucinating, looking at cars and their exhaust pipes. But I am now looking out the window onto cars that are parked outside where I live, and their exhaust pipes are on the near side.
Well, that sounds like positive proof to me. I agree with you. I don't agree with me, Judy. I agree with you. I couldn't be more wrong.
Right. That's very generous of you. Thank you.
Well, I'm a very generous person.
Yes, I know that.
All right. Well,
thank you. At least you've let me say it.
Yes.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Judy. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nica@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
With Nick Abbott.
Thank you for holding. Your call is important to us.
Your call is important to us, Livio, in Enfield.
Hi, Nick.
Livio.
All right. I just want to plead my case for this extension of the Ulez charge to the outer London area. I've got a 2012 diesel car in which I pay £30 a year road tax.
30?
Because £30 a year road tax because of its low emissions.
Really?
So what
Diesel?
I work.
Diesel?
Yes. Vauxhall Insignia diesel estate, £30 a year tax, road tax, because of its low emissions. So I live in Enfield.
Yes.
And to get to work, I go to Watford. So I'll never go into central London. If I have to go into central London, I take the train. So for me to get to work, I drive 10 minutes to the North Circuit, to the M25, get to work to Watford, and then back again.
Yeah.
And in August, I'm going to have to pay £12.50 a day just to get to work. I just think it's wrong.
Yeah, but 40,000 people a year dying of pollution is wrong.
Yeah, but the reason my car is I pay £30 a year road tax on it is because it's got low emissions.
How does a
So
diesel car? How does
if I
it?
did
Hang on a minute.
drive into
How does
central
it? How does
London-
an old diesel car have low emissions?
Because a car is taxed. It's a 2-litre engine.
Yeah.
£30 a year road tax on it because its emissions is low.
How is an old diesel car able to put out low emissions?
I'm not a mechanic.
Well,
all I know is that my road tax is £30 a year, and it's not £30 a year because it's anything special. It's because it's because of its low emissions. Other cars, which are a 2-litre engine, will have a higher road tax band because of its emissions.
Yeah.
You know, it's higher emissions.
Well, I never heard of such.
My point is,
I never heard of such a thing. But okay.
it's true, and I won't be alone. There'll be loads of other people that own 2012 diesel cars that pay £30 a year road tax, and they'll be forced to, I wouldn't mind. I don't even go to central London. I drive away into Watford to get to work, and at the end of August, I'm forced to pay £12.50 a day to get to work.
Right. Well, some people win and some people lose. Some people have died of pollution. I mean,
I can understand that,
yeah.
and I can fully appreciate the fact that if you've got a car that is a dirty car, if you like, you're not doing London any good or any place any good.
Right.
But on a personal basis,
why should you have to pay? Because you're one of the good guys.
Well,
yes,
if you like,
yeah.
yes.
Well, I don't know what the answer to that is. I mean, it seems reasonable.
Yeah, listen, I'm not. You haven't got an answer. I just thought I'd put my case out there.
Yeah.
And just to sort of let you know how unfair I think Sadiq Khan's sort of policy is.
The way he's going about it. Right.
I think it should be done. Of what sort of tax band your car is. And then take it from there.
Okay, well that sounds reasonable, Livio. I'm not in a position to do anything about it, unfortunately, but maybe you should write to the mayor. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. There's going to be much more of this. I mean, pretty soon it's not going to be this car versus that car. It's anything that runs on fossil fuel is going to be charged way more. You know that's coming, don't you? It's going to be huge. And there's nothing you can do about it because that is on the way. It must be. I cannot wait until we get rid of the petrol and diesel engines. I mean, wouldn't that be marvellous? Apart from anything else, the noise, never mind about the pollution, but the noise be great. But, I don't actually want an electric car right now because the infrastructure isn't there, but it's coming. You know it is. 0345 6060 973. Regarding the nice lady that I was talking to some while ago about, the emissions, brain fade, the exhaust pipes. The exhaust pipes being, so she said, on the left-hand side of cars. I'm not entirely sure about that. But Mark says, why doesn't that exhausted woman just cross over the road? Because it would be the same problem on the other side. Unless it's a one-way street. But if it's a two-way street, maybe she should walk down the middle of the road. Safer. 0345 6060 973. Let's have East Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Morning, Nick. Yeah. Can I get away from Ulez for a minute?
Yes, please.
Have you noticed Johnson's videos have come out from his trip to Uxbridge?
Videos of Boris Johnson going to Uxbridge. I seriously doubt that such a thing is available. I expect it to be deep fake.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
That wasn't him.
No, he commissioned it himself because he's now not PM, so he doesn't have his own personal photographer. So he commissioned a video, and he went to Uxbridge, and he went to Wilden Football Club, and he went to a local mental health place, and he went to Hillingdon, and made little speeches here and there, and it's all up there now. So why does he know fish is going down? And he's sort of keeping the options open.
He's suddenly expressing an interest in the good people of Uxbridge. Wow, that must come as a surprise to the good people of Uxbridge, who I doubt have ever seen him in their locale.
No, seriously, it's up there. I mean, he commissioned it privately. This
well,
video.
You say he commissioned it privately, but I bet we paid for it.
Maybe somehow, yeah, but
he doesn't pay for anything.
He must figure it. I mean, I don't think he'll stand again, but why would you do that if you've no intention, or is he just hedging his bets, or does he know he's a goner, or something like that?
Well, it's a nice little learner. I mean, he doesn't actually have to do anything. I mean, has he actually done anything for the people of Uxbridge in all of the years he's been their MP? I seriously doubt it. It's just a nice bit of cash to put in his pocket without having to actually do anything for it. I mean, it's a six-figure sum. It's not a small amount of money. Plus, there's £250,000 expenses as well. Don't forget that.
No, that's true enough. But that's one bit. The other bit is Texas. Don't know whether you've picked up again this week. A bank failed in Texas this week, and the bank that failed was the Texas Anti-Woke Bank that was set up in July by a load of Trump supporters.
Yeehaws.
Yeehaws. And I mean, you get little bonuses, little sort of sidelines when you sign up to a bank. They say, oh, we'll do this. Well, one of theirs, this bank, was that you would get free legal aid if you shot an intruder.
Wow.
Madness. But anyway, it's gone bust, so it doesn't matter.
I have that story. Wait a minute. I have that story right here. This is the Huffington Post. It was supposed to be a bank that touted and supported capitalism, family, law enforcement, and the love of God. Well, what bank doesn't support capitalism? A bank startup backed by billionaire Donald Trump supporter Peter Thiel and pitched as anti-woke for pro-freedom Americans is closing up shop after less than 3 months. The bank, Glorify, Glorifi, burned through £50 million in investment money, laid off most of its staff, and informed workers it was shutting down.
I know Peter Thiel, second bit of Texas. Peter Thiel, who's a billionaire, is openly gay. Now, have you seen...
Hang on. Is he? That's news to me. Are you sure about that? If he isn't, then I would like to apologise on behalf of me, this show, and this station.
And me. Well, I'll apologise, but it's up there on the internet because also the Texas Republican Party came out with an openly anti-gay policy this month.
Well, that sounds like the Republicans.
And it's caused absolute chaos because there is a Texan Republican LGBTQ party within the normal Texan Republicans, and they've gone absolutely ballistic.
Right.
And they're promoting, what do they call it, conversion therapy and all this stuff.
That'll work.
These
people are nuts. And the ones that shout about the gays the most are, I would keep my eye on them if I were you, Mark. Highly suspicious. But I have just read that you are completely correct in every respect. I am proud to be gay. Tech investor Peter Thiel tells the Republican Party convention in 2016. Proud. It seems an odd thing. It's like I am proud to have brown hair. It seems an odd thing to be proud of. You haven't achieved anything. You didn't work at it.
So what does he think about the Texas Republican Party coming out all anti-gay?
Well, if you would expect the Texas Republican Party to not be anti-gay, then I can't really help you.
And Trump's come out and condemned them, which is, the whole thing's mental. It's absolutely bizarre when you read the whole stuff that's going on in Texas at the minute. They're all like that in the back.
Well, Texans, apart from that bit in the middle, which is, what's that bit in Texas that's not mad? Oh, I can't remember anything anymore. There's a little town in Texas that's there's sort of an island of liberal belief where, ordinary people live that don't go into town with their pickup trucks and their guns in a rack behind their heads. San Antonio, I think that's probably the correct answer. San Antonio in Texas is an excellent place to be. Other than that, I've driven over Texas, the entirety of it, in August in a car with no air conditioning. And believe me, it's not a place you want to go because there's nothing there. You drive 500 miles and the scenery doesn't change. Terminal. Anyway, thanks a lot, Mike. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. John emails, I can think of nothing worse than the disgraced Health Secretary Matt Hancock being crowned King of the Jungle this year. He may have come across as a reasonable person in recent days, but as an AWOL Member of Parliament, he most definitely does not deserve such a reward. The good news is that British rugby fans are likely to come to the nation's rescue and give Mike Tyndall a well-deserved boost in the final days of the competition, says John. John, I cannot express in words how much I don't care about any of that. Please tell me less. 0345 6060 973. By the way, this show and the Saturday night one get stuck up the internet as a podcast. Now, it's only available on Global Player. If you don't have Global Player, then you can get it for free from your favourite app store for Apple or Android. Also available on PC. Go to globalplayer.com. And if you want the podcast of this show, if you've got one of them stupid smart speakers, then the magic phrase is open Global Player and play Nick Abbot, The Whole Show podcast. And then it will appear as though by magic. We take the news and the ads out, which means it takes less time to listen to. You'll use less electricity and save some money. And you still won't be able to afford your fuel bill, but, every little counts, right? Ask for it by name on an internet near you. Nick Abbot, The Whole Show podcast.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Dave texts, rain forecast in Qatar tomorrow. Football cancelled in case there is a rainbow. And Helen says, just wondering if you've seen Status Quo live. I'm going to see him next week, says Helen. No, Helen, I have not seen them play live. Heads down, no nonsense, mindless boogie.
Rock and roll!
But I did try to sell one of them a jacket once. It was the blonde one. I can't remember what his name is. One moment, please. Status Quo. Images. There you go. Yeah, that one there. I know that doesn't help much, but, the blonde one. I tried to sell him a jacket once. I used to work in an upmarket gentleman's emporium, if you can believe that.
No.
Yeah. I didn't last very long because I was rubbish at it. But he came in and there was like a jacket hanging on the rail, and he was looking at various things. And I said, "Oh, this will be good for touring because you can just throw it in the washing machine." As though a guy who's worth £100 million would be throwing his own clothes in a washing machine on tour. What an idiot. Eltham, hello, Ian.
Yeah, hi. It's Rick Parfitt anyway.
Luke, yeah,
That's
Rick. Okay.
Rick Parfitt.
Rick
yeah,
Parfitt.
that's who was
Right,
after.
there it is.
Well done. So with regards to the lady with talking about left and right hand side of the exhaust, it doesn't matter. It's going in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And that's what you're going to get.
Right up your nose. Exactly.
Yeah, it's immaterial. The long and the short of it is money. Okay? So
money.
The guy was right.
Which one?
Previously about guy in North London saying he was paying £20-30 a month, and he had a diesel car. Yeah, I've got a 1 Series BM, and I pay £30 a year, and it's low emissions. And the fact of the matter is, if you are on a run, diesel is probably the best thing to use because you've only got to step back a bit and look at logistics and how does everything get everywhere. Well, it gets there by truck generally, and what do they run on? Diesel.
Yeah, but but that doesn't really matter. I mean, if you
it does matter.
Well, it doesn't. No, you're missing the point. It's the the actual pollution that comes out the back of your car that he's trying to solve. If you go back to how you get it out the ground, then that's somebody else's problem.
No, hold on. Okay, so let's stick further onto 2025. Okay, you buy an electric car, a hybrid car. At the minute, we're not paying any road duty.
Right.
It's not road tax.
You will, though. Yeah.
Yeah, so you will be. So it doesn't matter. It's all about money. Okay, it's as simple as that.
Well, it's tax.
Government, anything like that. They don't care about anything. They hide behind the environmental...
no, it's not hiding behind. They're trying to... No, it isn't. Sadiq Khan is trying to clean up London's air.
It's money.
It may be money. That is the way to persuade people to buy a vehicle that is cleaner. That's the way to do it.
So
it's nudging.
Okay, so everyone buys an electric car or a hybrid car.
Right.
Okay?
Where are you going to get the electric from?
Then they start paying for it. We can go down the road of whether you get an electric, it's powered by gas or oil from a power station.
Yeah, no doubt.
And a little bit further down the road, out of your street, it's dirty. Right? It's as simple as that. But everyone knows it. You're going to go, we get the electric on the ball. We'll screw everyone over for money there.
Yeah, it's called tax. It's called tax, Ian. We got to pay tax.
Of course we have, yeah.
It's just that it would be nice if the government actually used our tax money for positive things as opposed to just putting it in the pockets of their friends and donors. I mean, but I guess we can't have that because we're not one of those perfect countries like Denmark and Sweden. But there's no way around it. He is attempting. If you want to say, he's just trying to raise money, then yeah, okay. But don't make no never mind because he's raising money by getting people to use cleaner forms of transport. So the result is the same, don't you think?
Hold on. You're talking over me, right? Now, do you trust the government?
No.
To be honest in what they do? No one trusts the government.
Never, ever. But that doesn't mean to say that you can't pay tax just because the government's crooked.
No. We accept that we have to pay tax, but the fact is, hydrogen would be the next thing. You know what I mean? So
I don't mean that people are backing away from hydrogen. They just closed, I think, the only hydrogen station in London.
that'll be the next thing.
How do you know that? It could be perfect batteries could be the next thing because you're imagining the future. I get it.
Where do you get? Hold on. Where do you get the stuff that makes the batteries? Right.
Where do you get the stuff that makes the batteries? Wherever it grows in the world. In Australia, most probably.
You will dig that out of the ground.
Right.
You dig that out of the ground. So,
Ian, it's a pointless argument to say that if you go back, then the petrol is less polluting than batteries, because if you go right the way back, then 10-year-old children are being made slaves to dig it out of the ground. It doesn't make any difference. That's not in Sadiq Khan's ability to change. He's just trying to get cars to put less pollution in the air. And if he can do it by nudging people, by making it more expensive to drive polluting cars, then the results are good, isn't it?
No, listen, is this a one-way phone call? Is this a one-way phone call?
Well, if what you mean is, can you talk over me, then no, is the answer to that question. Just by shouting louder, you don't get to talk over me. This is my show. If you want to shout over somebody, Ian, get your own blooming show. But we're going around in circles, and it's pointless talking any further. Southend-on-Sea. Let's see what this one's like. Hello, Glenn.
Oh, hello.
Glenn.
Hi, Nick. I just want to say, I do get that electric and hybrid is the way forward, and I will be buying an electric hybrid car as soon at some point.
Yeah.
But in 2015, I bought a 9-month-old Volvo V40, only diesel. Only because at the time, and I'd never had a diesel car before because I hate the sound and.
Yeah, me too.
And at the time, the government was saying diesel is the thing.
It's like they sound like a canal barge, and you bought it because Gordon Brown told you. Yes, more fool you for listening.
And at the time, I thought, okay, that's the way to go. Pay no road tax.
Yeah.
And now.
Now you're punished
for
your mistake. Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, I mean, everybody's got to pay tax, and it's a real unpleasant experience, particularly when the government seems to take our money and just throw it away. Where it goes, nobody knows. But, eventually, if we are good little boys and girls, we'll get a government that actually spends our money on positive things. Fingers crossed. That's it from me. Thanks so much for all your furious texts and tweets and angry calls. I'll be back tonight at 10. If you missed any of this super show, you can listen back on Catch Up on Global Player, where you'll find all of LBC's shows to catch up on, as well as the world's biggest podcasts. You can get Global Player for free from your app store, or you can head to globalplayer.com. I'll be back at 10. Coming up at 4, it's Richard Spur, but right now, Clyde Ball, 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 right now, Clyde Ball.